I was still getting pumped from the intro, man.
Dude, the guitar hits and it just jams, dude. I
I
love it.
love it. I love it. I can't get enough.
We definitely need to get our own intro with one of our jamming buddies out there that can really shred. So
Yes, that is for sure. That is for
how
sure.
how are you, my friend?
I am good, my friend. How are you?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I had my first round of what is it? The prolonged exposed therapy today.
Okay.
Let me tell you
Rough.
something, pal. There's a reason why there's a really high dropout rate for veterans. It wasn't 15. It wasn't 15 minutes, and I was out of. I wanted to be out of my skin.
Wow.
It- I mean, there's really no way about it. I felt bad because my therapist is like, you can tell she. I mean, you can normally you can see her on the screen, but today she had technical issues, so we had to jump on the phone. But like you can see her whole demeanor change.
Right.
She'll bring something up, and I'm just like, all of a sudden I'm white knuckled, and I'm we're going down these paths, and I just progressively get more angry and angry, and I just start
Yes.
boiling, and then her calm little voice, she'll be like, "So how does that make you feel?" And I'm like,
Yeah. Right.
"Oh, dude, I'm just
You
ready
really
to."
want to know? Do you
Yeah,
really?
I'm ready to just ring next. Dude. So,
Oh my
yeah, so
goodness.
I did that today, just a few hours ago,
Well,
actually.
congratulations for doing
Thank
that
you.
because that's a step, brother. I mean, that's a step. It's hard to do stuff like that. It's hard to even come to terms with even the fact that you have to do stuff like that. So
Right.
getting there is half the battle, right? And then
Yeah.
now you're in the process, and
Yeah, dude. Well, we're gonna ride that pony, but hey, so what do you say we get into what are we at, episode number 4 already? This is great.
already number 4, we are
This is
here.
this is good stuff. Well, hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to Disarranged
Yes, welcome.
1775, your newest resource for redefined news, entertainment, and a live, supportive, interactive network. Love seeing all the comments coming in. We've got Andrew Rodriguez, Skirt. Let's go.
Skirt.
Cody, what's going on? Yes, thanks for joining. Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate you guys. And
We,
and
we
then
got
of course we've got one of our number one subscribers, Bryson, in the building. What's going on, brother? So yeah, man. I think we should roll right into some shout outs.
let's do it.
Even
I love the shout out portion. I love it because I could shout out to everybody every week, man. We have so many people that support us, and
yeah, it's great.
we love for it. But this week, I want to give a special shout out to my MWSS 271 family. Those of you who joined, I see the great retired Matt Sergeant Brown is in the house. Cody Baird. If there's others and I'm missing you, I love you guys, man. I'm glad you're here. I hope that you're able to connect in some way to this and continue to watch and support.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate everyone from that unit joining. Real quick, Matt, just to caveat off that, I never got to serve with any of you guys. The only interaction I've had is with our guests this evening. But I know Matt from back when. Can I say you were a devil pup? I mean, I was in before you, right? Is that fair to say?
I think technically you were, so yes, you probably can.
Okay, so I knew Matt when he was a little devil pup. So was really looking forward to tonight and tonight's guest to kind of learn a little bit more about what that world was all about. So I definitely thanks for joining, thanks for subscribing, and you can
Yes.
check us out on all the platforms. Got to throw that plug in. So I want to do a quick shout out to my local Baltimore family. I hope I said that right and made people happy and proud. But I appreciate everybody, the love and support. And if you ever want to come and you're local and you're in my circle, yeah, you ever want to come for a live show and hang out with me and have like a little pre-party, I would love to have you. The studio's set up for you. So again, thank you very, very much for the support, all my Baltimore family. And I've just got to say it again. Shout out to my main man, Bryson. Is my nephew, and he's going to be a famous streamer one day.
You the man, Bryson. You the man.
um, Yeah. So what do you say, pal? What do you want to? We'll hop into some news and we'll get this
Yeah,
episode kicked off.
let's roll it. Let's roll
All
it.
right, brother. So today, in our news segment, as you know, if you're just joining us for the first time, our news is newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events. And tonight on Disarrange, we really want to touch on support groups. And this part of the episode tonight, we really want to try to get interactive with everybody. Mental health is obviously a huge topic out there today, and so we want to hop into support groups and what people think about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I was just recently on I just recently got back on Facebook to create the page for our platform here.
Yep.
And did I tell you this story? I was looking for I wanted to connect and figure out how to connect with a different side of trauma.
Oh,
Did I
okay. No,
did
I
I
don't think I've heard this one.
did we touch on this yet? All right. So what I wanted to do, my whole intentions were to explore different Facebook groups, related to trauma that necessarily wasn't military or combat related. Okay.
Right.
So understanding that there's so many different levels of trauma and different definitions of trauma that, here, um, I wanted to try to get a bird's eye view of what was going on our female audience. And so
Okay.
I joined. It took me a couple days to get into some of these groups, as you can
Yeah,
imagine.
they're
They have,
probably wondering what your angle was, right?
yeah, you have to be vetted. So I told them straight up, I have family members that are females that have been abused. I have friends that have been abused that are females, and I was here to learn and share my experience on the male side of things. And
Right.
it was cool. I got accepted in. So thank you. What? I don't want to give a shout out to the
No,
group
no, no.
yet. Just
No.
but it's very interesting. So I wanted to see how we could get involved as Disarranged and see what your opinion was on how we can interact with more of our female audience, non-combat related,
Yeah.
in terms of trauma.
Well, I think that when we talked about this platform, I think that was one of our motives, right? Was creating a platform that's not just for
100%.
the veterans or those who have suffered PTSD through the military or combat experience, such. We want to talk about everybody who's been through trauma in life, right? Because it doesn't matter. People go through stuff every day. Life is extremely hard. People suffer losses and setbacks and all kinds of stuff. And we wanted to create a platform where we could learn as much as we can about these situations and give as much information and acceptance as possible, right? So I think it's extremely important to have that avenue where we can reach out to the female audience or might be going through certain issues or have done certain stuff. As far as trying to find information on these things, we can give it to them, and trying to understand it a little bit better. I think that's, if nothing else, it makes us a better people by just learning this
Well,
stuff.
especially, and we sit here and say we're not the end all be all for resource. We're here to try to spark minds and connect people to go out and do your own research. So, I say we open it up. So we've got a good audience out there. Females, hit us up. Let me know what you guys think of the topic and how we can maybe provide value to you and take that and build it within to the web of our show. Because
Absolutely.
everybody is really the backbone of this. We like I keep telling Matt when off air, we're just the facilitators. You guys are the architects, and we're just kind of creating a platform for you guys to help us build this. And so if you guys, any females out there that want to give any input, this is your chance to come on and let us know what you think.
Yeah, and if there's an overwhelming request for information, or if we can get certain
hot
types
topic,
of guests on here to talk about stuff, that's what we're here for, man. We want to be able to give something to everybody that's in need of something, right? So
Well, it's important. It's important also to understand and realize that there's more than, there's more than one side to the coin, right? Like,
Yep.
as much as we can sit here and tonight's guest is contest us of having our active duty or veterans on, that, there's a whole other life that these service member live, and that some of us live that lifestyle when they serve. So
Yep.
to be able to get into that other side and really be able to understand how we can support that side of our network is kind of a big deal for us.
I think it's a big step, and I think, like I said, if nothing else, it helps you grow as a person to learn other people's struggles, right, and
Of
understand
course.
what other people go through. And I think it makes us better as a group, right?
Yeah.
If we understand that everybody's dealing with stuff, everybody has issues, and everybody needs somebody to talk to sometimes. So
Caitlin Pajak says, talking about PTSD in a wide variety of different people is awesome. PTSD from abuse, trauma, etc.
yes,
That's 100% right, Katie. Appreciate the comment. Thanks for joining us tonight. This topic touches close to, I know, a lot of my friends. A lot of us have a lot of similar backgrounds when it comes to being raised and such, like things like that. So people that I've talked to have expressed, when I kind of mentioned we were going to touch on this topic, thought it was really good, and we've got a bunch of people requesting to see my dog.
there it is.
You give people a platform, they just want to see. They want to see.
They want to see the dog.
I'm not quite sure where he's kicking at.
So we have a comment on here that's interesting, Andrew, because we talked about this earlier. It says it's from Rebecca Turner.
Okay.
Said you should have a military wife on to give them their perspective. Some of them have been abused, and Rebecca, we appreciate that. And as a matter of fact, on our pre-show, me and Andrew were talking about this. We want to give every perspective, because people, whether you're in the military or you're a family member of the military or your wife or child, everybody's got to deal with what's going on with that service member, and sometimes it's not good, obviously. So everybody suffers that trauma, and they need someone to be there for them too. So very important. I would love to hear that perspective as well.
Yep. No, that was a great answer, and that's definitely something we have cooking right now. I think, it's pretty cool. Some of these comments I'm seeing, it's almost like our guests and our audience is right along with our journey and kind of what we're trying to do. So it's really, really cool. We're gonna take one more and then we're gonna move on. Looks like from Annie Cantwell, also like supporting our loved ones struggling with PTSD, always feeling like you are walking on pins and needles. I can I can understand where that's probably a thing. I guess it's I don't know, how would you get into that?
I think just hearing their story is the start, right? I think a lot of times as a service member, it's hard to look past yourself. So
Right.
you don't really see the journey of maybe a wife or a sister or mother or whoever is in contact with that person struggling. So you don't see it all the time, right? You don't see what you're doing or what, like Caitlin says, what your triggers are, right? So like I don't like to be someone walking up on me. I don't like loud noises. I don't like big crowds. So, but some service members don't express that to their family members, right? They don't talk. They don't communicate. They just kind of react.
And with that being said, Static X73 says, when I first met my wife, I was open about my PTSD and told her how I was not hiding anything. She accepted me and still with me to this day, which that is, those who know you, that's one of the most important things that I can sit here and say in my experience and journey throughout this life and being a veteran is being able to have a really strong support group that's with you through your ups and downs and your changes. And because Matt, you probably, you're 4 years, 5 years out.
Mm-hmm.
We're different people.
Totally
And
different.
And
Completely.
that different person has to readapt to something that he's supposed to already know.
Yeah.
Right. So no matter how long you served, you're supposed to know how to be a civilian when you get out. Right. Like, but it doesn't work that way.
Ready or not, right? I mean,
Ready or not, but that's the thing that there's a big disconnect, I think, with the family side of things. It's like, oh, he's back, and this is our old, Matthew, and this is our old Andrew. Well, unfortunately, I wish it was like that. I wish, I've spent the last 10, 11 years trying to find that old Andrew, and and as you know, I've watched you the last 4 or 5 years. You're on your journey of finding your old Matthew, right? Like, so it's so important for the other side of this to see that when we come out here, we're kind of just thrown in a sea of shit, and we're like, it's hard to kind of get your bearing.
And I will say, in addressing that, like trying to find your old self, one thing I've realized is, I've spent more time trying to figure out who I was and all this stuff, and days go by when I'm focusing on this. Right now, I'm just content with being who Matt is right now. Right. I am the person that I am through the experiences I've been through, and just trying to be the best, whatever it is I can be. Right. So, that's really what I try to do. I mean, whatever interests I had pre-military and all pre-experiences and all that stuff, if they didn't come with me on this journey and make it out the other end, then they're a thing of the past, then we're on the new things. So
awesome, man. Well, listen, thank you everybody for all your comments and everything. Brittany Thum, amen. Katie, always support and understand.
Thanks so much. Yes.
Yeah, you guys, the comments are blowing up right now. We really, really appreciate all the activity. Again, that's what we are. That's what we're here to do at Disarranged1775. We're your newest resource for redefined life news, entertainment, and a live supportive network. So introduce yourselves in the comments. Let's keep things rolling, and I think it's time to slowly. I say we get into our buddy check, pal. What do you say?
Let's do it. Yep. So go ahead, bud. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, man. Just for the new viewers out there, this part of the segment is where we kind of every episode will be tailored around calling somebody to check in on our guests while having a compelling conversation that could be useful to somebody out there. Again, growing our network. We are not the end all be all for information. What we want to try to do is connect people like we have in the comments here, blowing up, talking to everybody and just sparking an interest. If you want to change your life and change and have something a little bit better, we're just here to be able to facilitate the growth. So
absolutely.
You know this guest.
I do. I know this guest very well. I've known him since 2011.
Awesome.
I've had the honor of knowing him. I'll say that.
Why don't you go and I'll tee it up, man. Why don't you go ahead and give him a good introduction, and then we'll get him in here.
Yep. So our guest that we have on today is Major Patrick Callahan. I served with him in 2011 at MWSS 271. Where he came in as a second lieutenant, but he was a Mustang. And for those of you who don't know what that is, he was prior enlisted. He served as a infantryman, and he came in he got the lucky draw of being a commo. And if you could understand this sarcastic nature, that you would laugh. But he came to our platoon. He was fired up, ready to go. And I've never met an officer. Well, officers are always want to be hands-on, but what was different about Major Callahan was he wasn't just hands-on. Everything he asked for us to do as a platoon, I served as his platoon sergeant, he did with us. So I couldn't really bitch and complain about a lot of the stuff he did because he was out there doing it with us. He told me, like, hey, listen, you can do a PT schedule for the week, but I want 1 day a week with my platoon. And he had some pretty grueling PT sessions. But one of the big stories that stands out to me there's a bunch of them with him, but one of the big ones was we had a night patrol training, and it was going on. I think it was like 9:30. And that day, Major Callahan's son was having brain surgery, and I don't even think he was in the. He wasn't in the office, and we went out as a platoon that night. I think it was actually as a squadron. We went out, and I'm getting accountability, doing all the the checks and all that stuff, and here comes Major Callahan walking up. And I'm like, "Sir, what are you doing here?" He's like, "Well, my platoon's here, so I'm here." And I'm like, it just floored me, man. I mean,
And his son just had what?
brain surgery.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, that's just the leader that he was and is. He was a man that, or is a man that, when he asked you to do something, you were happy to do it because you knew very well he'd be doing it with you, and he had your back 100%. He loves his Marines that serve underneath him. He's definitely stern at times, but he's a fantastic leader. So let me get into a little bit. He's got an accomplished military career. I want to credit him on his
Absolutely.
his whole breakdown before we introduce him. Yep. So
Absolutely.
in 2000, for those of you who don't know, who know Major Callahan but didn't know, he enlisted into the Navy as a seaman, and he went to recruit training in 2000, and he was stationed at the USS Lake Champlain from 2001 to 2004. After his first enlistment into the Navy, he decided that he wanted to be the best of the best. So he enlisted into the United States Marine Corps in 2005. He went to boot camp at MCRD San Diego. Upon completion in 2005, he went on to ITB in Camp Pendleton, that's infantry training battalion, in 2006. And then after he completed that, his first duty station was 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines. Again, he was an infantryman. After he served his time in 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines, he decided that he wanted to go onto a higher level of leadership, and that's when he decided to be an officer, and he went into the NROTC program, where basically they allow you to go get your degree, but you're still a part of the military. Upon completion of your degree, you get pinned on lieutenant. So he completed that in 2012. They sent him to basic school, and lucky for him, his first duty station, 2013, I said 2011, I meant 2013, was MWSS 271, the workhorse of the wing, the kick-ass, where he served for 3 years. His next duty station, he went on to the Expeditionary Warfare School, served there for a year. Then he got stationed at OCS, and he became a basic school instructor. And 2019, he served at CLR 27, and finally, currently is serving in the 2nd Landing Support Battalion as a major in the United States Marine Corps. So,
wow. What do you say, pal?
Without further ado.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, our network, our family of Disarranged 1775. It is my honor and Matthew's honor to welcome Major Patrick Callahan to the stage. Everybody, how you doing, sir?
Good evening, little pigs. How we doing? It's gonna be tough to follow up that intro, man. Like, I gotta live up to all that.
You already did, sir. That's you live it. That's the whole point.
Thank you so much for having me on. I love what you guys are doing. This is amazing.
Awesome. We're happy to have you, sir. And like I had said earlier, to a lot of the people that you served with, I'm just the one conversation we had the other night. I'm so jealous that I wasn't under your command or in your unit to be able to serve with you. So I'm excited to hop into tonight. I'm excited to see what you brought to the table for our guests, and I'm just overall excited, and thank you.
Awesome.
So we're gonna hop right into it now.
Let's do it.
We've got some great conversations going on the chat, and let me just pull up some other stuff here. I'm just actually realizing we didn't do our advertisements, but it's okay.
We'll hit that later.
Yeah, we'll buff all that.
We were so excited to get Major Callahan in here.
So I know like I had said that I never got to serve with you. Can you give our guests a little bit of a different angle of how you and Matt kind of met each other?
Yeah. So, I mean, he gave you the rap sheet. When I got out of comm school, my first unit was Marine Wing Support Squadron 271.
Hurrah.
Young first lieutenant. I was not young by comparison. Show up, and the first guy I meet, honestly, I think when I showed up in my office, sitting at his desk, is Matthew Gardner, my platoon. Like,
Semper
hey,
Fidelis.
welcome aboard, sir. You know, and that's always an interesting time in a lieutenant's life. And although I was a Mustang, it's still I've never been an officer, so it's you want to make a good impression. But right away, Matt's demeanor was a guy who knew his stuff. He was very confident. I was excited. I was like, all right, you know, this guy seems pretty good. Did not meet those expectations. No, I'm kidding.
I love
that.
Honestly, if I had to put a phrase on it, and my Marines in the crowd will know what I mean. He's a fire and forget weapon, and I don't know. I loved working with him. I could give him, you know, an idea of what we wanted, and you know, walk away, and I would come back, and I knew that it would be completely jacked up. I love that he brings up, you know, that I slayed you guys, because in my office right now is a 45-pound plate that you guys gave me when I left, which really just kind of talks about the PT. Apparently, I'm a terrible commo and I have zero leadership skills, but yeah, logs and ammo cans. Thank Cody Baird, because
and 7-ton tires.
We were some war fighting communicators.
Yes, we were.
You don't have bombs without comms, and we lived that every day.
Hurrah.
And
You like
honestly,
that,
my
Turner?
right-hand man was my comm chief and my platoon sergeant. Everything that I needed done, they did it, and they took care of the Marines. So I get zero credit for the amazing reputation that comm platoon have. And I will say, you guys set the bar high. Every unit I've led afterwards, the lessons I learned there were definitely with me. But it was a good time working with Matt. He definitely liked to getting that behind when Marines were not meeting the standard, which usually you got me pretty fired up, because Sergeant Callahan, I kind of had to put him to the side, and I couldn't be the angry guy. I had to be the good cop.
Right.
Matt was my bad cop. Well, he would crush him.
So for whatever crazy reason, sir, I knew that somehow you were going to tell me that Gardner was a bit of a tough ass. So I wanted to share for you and all of your old unit members out there right now that are listening, how I met. Well, I met him, and then how we deployed together, but how I truly, really got to know who Matthew Gardner was. And we were in the middle of Afghanistan. It had to have been about probably 2 o'clock in the morning. And if anybody out there has ever been to the desert at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can't see your hand in front of your face. It's pitch black. We were sitting on a probably an 8x8 post
box,
dug into the side of a sand hill in Afghanistan.
Yep.
And other than us being scared about camel spiders and constantly doing spot checks to make sure that we weren't going to get bombarded by a spider this big, right?
Oh my God.
Out of nowhere, sir, I tell you, I know exaggeration. It's just if you guys could just walk with me for a minute, and this picture being completely silent, where so silent you can almost hear how silent it is. Does that make sense? And then all of a sudden he looks over, he goes, "You want to know why you're a piece of shit, Turner?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "Yeah, no, I didn't know if you wanted to know why you're such a piece of shit." And I was like, "Well, listen," and I'm not even going to go into the details. It was the next 6 hours of my life until the duty came to pick us up for our rotation, because we did 24-hour shifts. I just got belittled and degraded and all those other bigger words that I probably don't know right now.
Yes.
And that's literally how.
Never have I questioned my leadership more than when Matthew Gardner was my platoon sergeant, because I would know when I messed up, and he was going to tell me.
Yeah, and I had to respect it, and it was literally ever since that night. I think we were already really creating a great bond, but it was his rawness, his honesty, and his tenacity to talk to the honesty It really, I loved it, and we've been really
serious
good ever
relationships get built on post, right? Like,
Oh man, things get really raw. Listen, when you're sitting there and it's 140 degrees, and now all of a sudden it's like 80 degrees, and you're freezing, and you're tired, and all the other things that are going through your mind, things start to get really real. I mean, you talk about a number of things that we cannot talk about here.
romance and existential crisis,
But
only if your boots are tied.
Right. But that, I don't know, it just popped in my mind. I felt like I should share it with Andrew, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Well. Moving on.
Thanks, Andrew. I needed to know that about Matthew, honestly. Like,
oh, listen, he'll get you when you're down, sir. Like he'll make sure, like, you could be just waiting for that last inch of hope, and he'll be there he'll help you, but he's gonna make sure he knows that
hey,
you
you're
know
vulnerable. Let me kick you, and then
100%,
pick you back
100%.
up.
I will love you, though. I will,
sir.
love you.
I've actually, I do. I'm actually curious with your extensive, your background and your initial service in the Navy as an enlisted man. How have you seen the conditions of what our servicemen and women say back when you first enlisted as a Navy personnel up to being a Marine Corps officer now?
That's a pretty broad question, but I mean, in general, I would say that, you know, when you say the word condition, my brain immediately goes to quality of life, which, you know, early 2000s to, you know, 2021, there's been some pretty substantial changes in both institutions, because I still keep in contact with some of my, you know, former sailors and see how they're doing. And I would say that in general, conditions have improved. I would say every branch of service over the course of the last, you know, 20 years, you know, and two major conflicts within that, definitely took a look at, you know, that quality of life, you know, and simple things like the chow halls, the barracks. But I got out in 2004, and I will tell you that process is a vastly different animal than what it is now. As a commander now, my job is to do exit interviews with these Marines, and you know, looking at the end of my career here in the next year or so, going through the transition readiness seminar, and looking at, you know, the amount of effort that the institution is putting in, making sure that's a successful transition, that you become a civilian that is value added to the population, as opposed to my first one, which was like, sell back your leave. Here's your sea bag, DD-214. Good luck.
Yeah.
And I won't lie, that was a huge vacuum in direction. Because I think the biggest hurdle that I faced when I first got out from between 2004 and 2005 was everything's an option. In the military, everything's kind of lined up for you. And you get kind of used to that, almost, I hate to say it, but institutionalized.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to put it.
Right, you are. And a vast majority of my adult life, except for that 1 year break, I've known nothing but this institution, because there really wasn't a significant difference other than mission between the discipline and the requirements of the U.S. Naval Service and the other component of the Naval Service, which was the Marine Corps. It was a pretty easy transition for me, because honor, courage, commitment remained the same, you know, buzzword, but, you know, you wake up, shave your face, put on a uniform, do what you're told. Life is pretty simple. You know exactly what direction to go. Your upward mobility within, you know, your MOS, your military occupational specialty, or in the Navy, it was your rate, is kind of lined out for you. So you know exactly what you need to do to get that next position, to get that next job. It's all lined out for you. And then I got out, and I won't lie, within the first few months of being out in 2004, I went through like 4 different jobs. I just couldn't, there were so many choices. It was almost overwhelming, the amount of freedom that I have. And that sounds terrible, but I imagine that the two of you haven't been out for 10 and 4 or 5 years. I'd be curious to know what your experience was with that, mostly because I know that some of my Marines said they might, you know, tune in tonight. And some of them are looking down the barrel of that transition and facing some of those.
Sir, I think you hit it right on the head with that. And I don't know as if how, you know, so I've been out for 10 years for those who don't know. And having too many options. I don't, for whatever reason, when you said that, sir, and this is the greatest thing about what we're doing here is like just little things like that just spark. I'm like, oh shit, like,
Right.
wow, like took me 10 years and what we're doing here to realize that, but too many options. There wasn't a solidified roadmap that I got from my career planner that says, all right, Turner, civilian, this is, you know, this is your path and this is what you have to do to get there. Oh, Roger that. And like, and I go and do it. Right. Like in the Marine Corps, and I speak for the Marine Corps, and I would imagine the military in general, there's similar things, but having that structure to guide you along to get you where you want to be every step of the way is huge. And out here in the civilian world, unfortunately, you don't have it. This is what we're trying to do here and create a little bit of that gap.
And I would offer for those getting out, there's a laundry list of options, any direction you want to go. So it is overwhelming. But one of the things that I found is, one, if you find something that you're passionate about, that can help. Particularly
100%.
whenever I have a goal, even within the Marine Corps, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. There's just so many duty stations, and what are the impacts of doing this versus that? One, know what you want. Really sit down and think about that, have that introspective moment, and then write it down. For me personally, and maybe that's not everybody, but as soon as I write that in a journal, and yes, recently I've started writing in a journal. Why? Because I forget things, and I'm able to go back and look at it and say, oh yeah, that was the target. That was the thing that I was thinking about. Is that still what I'm after? Yeah. Okay. So what have I done about it? And giving myself some direction, and by putting it on paper, it almost makes it real.
Yeah.
And I will say that that's kind of what I'm doing now is I've got a, approved retirement date. So, this beautiful adventure that was the Marine Corps for me is coming.
Sir.
Right. Thank you. Clap, clap.
Congratulations.
And I'm excited and a little sad at the same time. Some medical stuff is really driving that decision. And I'm going to miss the Marines. That's the biggest part of it is the people.
It's always it.
But I'm excited. So what do I want to do? Well, there's some limitations there, but I've written down and done some cost benefit analysis, not to put too much of an officer spin on it, as like, which direction do I want to go? And I've kind of narrowed it down to 10, and I won't go into that, but I'm putting it out there for the group that writing things down makes it real. Yep. It materializes it as a true goal. Because if you just think about it, cool, great idea. When does that idea turn into reality for you? And so for me, facing what is it's a little intimidating, even at 21 years in the military, the idea of getting out and having, to grow up and not be Peter Pan in the Marine Corps anymore is a little intimidating. And so write it down and make it real. And then put some subsequent goals or some smaller goals that will get you to that ultimate end state. So I want to get out and get a job in X field. Okay, what classes do I need to take? Are they, do they cost? Are they free? Dig into it and create some smaller goals that lead you to that ultimate end state. And when you get there, you're like, okay, I've got it, right? I'm at the pinnacle. No, man, because the journey's not over. What's next? And just keep that habit of like reevaluating where you're at and writing it down and make that new goal real and just continue moving on that journey. And I see so many young folks, and I say young folks, like I'm not old, but in the Marine Corps, I feel like folks who have enlisted, enlisted after, they were born after I enlisted.
Right.
That hurt the first time I asked, hey, when were you born? And they say, 2001. You're like,
yeah,
I'm the old guy now. I remember that. I remember looking at those guys and going, these guys are ancient. I'm that dude now. But I digress.
Yeah.
Write it down, make it real. But
I'll say this too, sir. On the more human side, coming out, a lot of the things that are masked in the military that you hide in yourself, your insecurities, things that just you can push aside while you're in the military, all that shit comes to front, like right in your face. Like all of a sudden that big secure blanket is gone, right? You're not a Marine, you're not a staff sergeant anymore, you're not a major anymore, or whatever. Who am I, right? So I would say start to get comfortable with who you are and who you want to be, and start to, if you have a family, get connected with them and get closer with them, because you're going to need them in that transition. Because the insecurity, for me, this was major, just not knowing really who I was anymore. Right. The identity thing, and you know what the Marine Corps teaches you and all that stuff, but you're not that anymore. And you have to go on to do a job and be a husband and a father and all this stuff. And you don't have that blanket of security where, like, oh, I go to work now, I know I'm a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps. That's not there anymore. So
no, I would say I had that existential crisis mid-career. I mean, you made kind of a joke like that I got the honor of picking camo, and to my own shame, like that was not something I was super excited about when I first got it.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the infantry. And some of that was my fault, just the way that you place numbers at TBS and that stuff. Like I'll own a piece of that selection, but I will say, when you identify yourself not with who you truly are, like internally, your own values, your own morals, who you are is identified with a thing so strongly, and it crumbles.
Yeah.
I definitely had a moment where I was like, oh crap, that's not me anymore. I got to go be this other thing. And it was a struggle at first. And I will say the thing that got me out of my own, self-pity and loathing was actually a young communications Marine. And I've told this story a lot, and it hurt me a little, and it was a good hurt.
Mm-hmm.
We were at the basic school, and one of the culminating events there is called the war. And that's where 3 platoons against 3 platoons do a force on force exercise in kind of a live, it's coached, but it's kind of free play, war. Like,
right.
Literally, the Marines are, the lieutenants are making decisions about how to execute this within a roughly scripted environment. Well, I got assigned, 0602 communications officer. So they made me the commo for this group of 3 platoons that were an aggregated company.
Right.
And so I go, and there's all this comm gear and antennas, and there's these Marines. They're enlisted Marines who actually work at the basic school. And years later, I will actually lead that platoon. Fate is funny like that, right?
Yes, it is. The Marine Corps, definitely.
And I see this corporal, and he's like, oh man, this is awesome, sir. You got camo. We're super excited to do the war, yada, yada, yada. And Second Lieutenant Callahan is like, yeah, this is bull crap. I wanted infantry.
Right.
Freaking pogue. I don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And he just looks at me, and excuse my expletive, but I think it's important to be as brutally honest as possible.
Please do, yeah.
Fuck us, right? And he walks away.
Right.
And he didn't mean fuck us like the 3 dudes standing there. He meant like our entire community.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was speechless. And I'm honestly getting a little emotional talking about it, because I have spent every moment since then trying to earn back the credibility that I had worked so hard for as an enlisted Marine, transitioning over my entire purpose along the way. Because you get asked a lot, why do you want to do this? I want to lead Marines.
Right.
And the first opportunity to lead a communications Marine, and I shit on him. And every time I get in front of a platoon, every time I've been given a company, I retell that story to remind myself it's not about me.
Right.
And I have to earn that back. Every single time I'm given an opportunity to lead someone, whether it's in the Marine Corps or it's some job outside of that, when I retire, I owe the people on my team everything I've got. And it doesn't matter what their billet is, what their job description is, what their background is. I owe them everything I've got.
Yeah.
I have to be honest and genuine. I have to be compassionate for the team, and I have to give everything I've got. And dude, it hurt. I still, I got a little teary eyed just talking about it, because I don't know the kid's name.
Well,
I wish I could find him and be like, dude, I'm sorry.
I think that right there is the tangible that separates good leaders from bad leaders, right? Like you understood the magnitude of that comment. You understood that what you were doing was to lead these Marines. It wasn't just about being an 03 officer or being an 06 officer.
I got selfish.
Right. So
I lost focus that the people matter, not the number that someone assigned me, not the money that I make,
right.
not my position of authority. None of that matters because there's no institution without the people.
Right.
They are our greatest weapon. You know,
Well,
they do the heavy lifting every single day. And I lost focus. I did. I will own that.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's
Well, and so go ahead, Turner. I'm sorry, bud.
No, go.
Well-
I've got to ask along those lines, sir. I can see that that this kind of hit a little bit of a spot, and
Yep.
understanding that there's there's always mistakes made, especially as leaders, and there's certain ones that we wear on our shoulders more, and that goes along with our responsibilities as being a leader.
Right.
And with that responsibilities, I kind of wanted to shift, and you had said something earlier that made me really think about it. With having to wear so many hats as a leader, and as you constantly adapt through that process, and where have you found it hard, the most difficult nowadays, especially with us pulling out of combat and trying to live more of the garrison life? I'm sure that there has to be some sort of a shift in dynamic with that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. So there's a few answers to that question, right? Because that's a pretty complex question. I feel like there were multiple questions. So let's start with, most recently, dealing with some loss, right? Like, and I won't go into the politics of current events, but we lost 13 amazing personnel in Afghanistan when we pulled out.
Yeah.
I don't care about the politics surrounding about that. I care about the people who were left after, and what this generation of service members and families faced, that maybe we, older guys who did Iraq and Afghanistan maybe became a little desensitized to. And it hit home because one of those Marines was originally from comp platoon, my unit. And so a lot of my guys that I work with right now, they went to comm school, they went to boot camp, they grew up in that unit. And then when she left to go on that deployment with another unit, they were super excited. They were following her on all of her social media. And I believe one of her quotes, which is just indicative of the type of person that she was a meat eater. Like, definitely. I fucking love my job, again, to use another expletive, my apologies. But, and that was shortly before that Marine passed away. And I will say it's taken its toll on the unit. The thing for me was, I'm not always the most empathetic person. And I don't know if that's just a product of my service and becoming desensitized to that stuff, or if it's generational, which is a whole nother conversation, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
But, just have had to kind of learn how to help others grieve.
Right.
Because when I was a young Marine, it was, everybody was worried about me, right? The platoon commander and the platoon sergeant were like, hey, bud, how we doing? You do your warrior transition training, and are you good?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I'm the guy asking the question, and there's no handbook on how to deal with grief and loss.
No.
I will say, significant advocate for success was our chaplain. And not, from a religious aspect, which he certainly did. He provided that ministry to our folks, but just, he's definitely a guy that you can talk to, and those comments are non-attributional. And it's amazing to be able to just get that off your chest. And I will say, even as a young Marine in combat, like, whenever our chaplain was around and I was struggling with some of the things I was being asked to do, that was the dude that I talked to.
Yeah.
And he really helped me out. Like, I would say that my mental health and my well-being is absolutely a reflection of people in those types of positions. And it wasn't just chaplains. I mean, there was, my buddies who definitely helped. And that's what I told my guys. I was like, look, the fireside chat amongst peers of how you're feeling, and getting that out and not just harboring that within you, is a healing mechanism.
Yeah.
And I talk to them about how natural it is, to acknowledge your pain, like you need to, and that grief's going to trigger a few different and unexpected emotions, and that's okay. And you can be angry. That's actually pretty normal.
Right.
But really quickly after this event happened, we were asked to send Marines, to a location to actually help some Afghan refugees. And so one of the things that I said, I was like, it's okay to be angry, but make sure that we direct that in the right place.
Right.
100%.
It's not those people. And
Right.
because, I know even during my time, that was a danger,
It's
because
hard,
you're
yeah.
constantly living amongst a population of people
That you can't trust.
Yeah, but I'll be honest, my deployments, the people of Iraq were amazing.
Mhm.
I worked with them, I ate with them, I hung out with their kids. Like I would be visiting. And so I guess I learned over my career that just because the enemy lives within the population doesn't mean that the population is my enemy. You know what I mean? And so
It's good.
having to learn how to articulate that to Marines who have never deployed. I would say a vast majority of my Marines never experienced what it was like to get on a plane or a boat and go to another country and go through the loss of a friend that you've grown up with, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's fascinating. Like even just the process, sir, of saying goodbye, getting on a bus,
Sure.
pulling off your base, pulling onto an airfield, and then
Dude,
telling you take your cover off.
That's
Yeah.
heavy.
Putting your pack on the front of you and getting as close as you can to the person in front of you and walking down that runway to your plane.
Yeah.
To getting on that, to getting into a C-130, to understand how much discomfort is actually involved in this entire process.
Yeah. It's not
Life
easy.
changing.
It is life changing. And when we spoke the other night and we started getting into this, and I felt like, honestly, and excuse my French, I felt like a piece of shit that I didn't understand that there's a shift.
Sure.
Right. I kept just thinking, oh, every Marine is getting out. They're all the same. We're all, crayon eating wizard visiting people, and
Yeah.
and I want to thank you, sir, really, because the other night when we were talking and you said that, I was like, oh my God, it opened up a whole new kind of like and I don't want to say this in a negative sense, but like an interesting topic to talk about because
Yeah.
go ahead, Matt, go ahead.
No, I think even like we've talked about hundreds of times, like especially if you go to an area where you're in combat, your job there is to obviously do your job, but you love your brothers and sisters there, right? And your number one goal is to get home. And you really emotionally have to disconnect from everything that's back home. And you talk about psychologically what a process that is to just stop thinking about your wife and kids and stuff because you have to focus on and doing what you're doing. So there's a lot psychologically and emotionally that goes along with doing that. Like you said, Turner, getting on the plane and all that stuff, man. It's just saying goodbye, not knowing if you're going to see those people again, and it's tough. It's not easy at all. It's not easy at all.
Our conversation on Sunday, I mean, we touched on, I think the popular buzzword for a while was, unconscious bias. Yeah. But I think we all have some preconceived notions of what, life is going to be like.
Yeah.
And you can, attribute that to a number of factors, popular movies of what war is going to be like. But I would say even a young man or woman going off to college probably has some preconceived notions.
Sure.
You get into a serious relationship and you think this is the person.
100%,
and then over the 15 years of your life, you realize actually they're way more amazing than I anticipated. But the honeymoon phase kind of wears off. And I would say as a young service member, that I had that same experience. My first patrol in Iraq, I was wired tight, man. I was nervous. I was like, am I going to screw this up and embarrass myself? Get shot or blown up? I got to make sure I'm doing my job. And so like all these things are cycling through your head because you think it's going to be a certain way. And then it's not. The first time I got shot at, we were doing, island clearing in the Euphrates. So we were on Zodiacs. We were working with some Navy Det 1 guys.
Yes.
Amazing team of sailors, by the way. So if there's any Det 1 sailors out there, thank you. You definitely kept my butt safe while I was doing that. But it was a long day. And we're sitting on the island and everybody's kind of loosening up the flak because it's like 120 degrees and I'm wearing 60, 70 pounds of crap. We're eating chow, and I won't lie, I'm probably in like Cooper's color code, white. I'm not black, but I'm white. I'm not paying attention. I'm smoked. It's been a long day. And you start hearing, snaps and wood chips flying off of palm trees and splashes in the water. And I'm not kidding you. It took a couple of minutes for me to go, oh, wait, we're being shot at.
All right.
There's that moment and a little, exclamation point over my head. I'm like, crap, what's the immediate action drill? I'm like, contact front. And everybody freaks out. They jump off the boat. They're running for trees. It's complete chaos. We get oriented in the direction. Someone does like a half-assed ad rack, and I noticed the boat's floating away.
Nice.
This is not what I expected. I was thinking some Call of Duty awesomeness. Didn't play out that way. Bull crap. And my boat's floating away, and it's got machine guns. It's got freaking explosives. It's got all of our comm gear. It's got all my chow. For the
all your
team.
Mission essential gear,
everything. There are going to be ninja punches out the nose.
That's what you're more worried about than the combat.
I really was. Like, I'm worried about getting shot at. I'm like, oh my god, the boat's floating away. And so, what do I do with that 60, 70 pounds of crap on? I jump in the water.
There you go.
Because I'm going to save that boat. And I'm hanging on the side of this Zodiac. It's a rubber boat for those who have never done one. It's got a little rope along the edge of it, and I'm hanging onto this rope, and I'm trying to swim it back. The Euphrates is fast and deep and cold because it's winter in Iraq, which sucks. So it goes from like the 110s to like 60 at night. The water's cold. And it's floating and turning me towards the guy who's shooting at us, who I have yet to identify. He's up on cover on the hill, on the shore. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is what's going to go in my obituary. Here lies Major Callahan, the floating rubber duck who got shot in the back because he's a retard and jumped in the water. And all your preconceived notions of what it's going to be like, and that's what I got. And your other episodes, everybody told a funny story. That's my funny story. I got a boat on shore, tied it off, and I'm bugs.
You're a true Navyman, sir. You're a true
tree to tree. Because by the way, I left my rifle with the squad, so I'm just like.
But I bet the officer that was on scene you were like his favorite person in the world when you.
I would say that Lieutenant Jackson was like, dude, solid move. The explosives, the machine guns, and the radios. I didn't have to account for any CCI loss. I'm not getting fired.
Oh yeah, you're definitely more worried about that than getting shot. You lose that.
What a reality that death isn't even the thing that I'm worried about.
No,
losing some gear. Like I've been so ingrained with don't lose this gear that I wanted to worry about that before getting shot. The harsh reality.
Credit to your leadership.
and your recruiter.
Thanks, recruiter. I'll remember you in my prayers.
So, encompassing like your whole career and everything you've been through, what do you think your greatest challenges have been as enlisted service, as a Marine officer? Not only that, but like a husband and a father. And how have you overcome those adversities today to get to where you're at?
We got deep. We went from funny to heavy really fast.
Welcome to Disarranged, sir.
I know, right? Like it's a roller coaster of emotions, and I love this. But there's a lot, and so I guess you kind of, we're in a time constraint, so I'll pick a few. But one, and I know that a lot of my Marines probably struggle with that, is that balance between my love and my passion and what I do, because I'll be completely honest. I love being a Marine. So I'm belt fed, right? I'm the motard who stuck around forever and would just stay if it wasn't for, growing disabilities. But I have a wife who I absolutely adore. And if Samantha's watching, I love you. If you're not, I still love you. 3 amazing boys, Patrick, Caleb, and Finn. And it's tough because nothing will ever get in the way of or replace, the love and the desire to be with them. But my commitment to the Marines and the reason that I've stayed as long as I have, they're not necessarily, mutually supporting.
Yeah.
And you told the story at the very beginning, and I won't lie, like that was a tough sacrifice because I wanted to stay with and be with my wife on that night when my son had that surgery.
Yeah.
And so I stretched myself pretty thin. And that's probably, you know, some of the mental and physical stress that I've dealt with over the years was not because the Marine Corps was hard or because life was hard, but because I felt compelled as a man to support both with everything I had and left not much for me, if I'm being honest, for a vast majority of that career. I worked early and stayed late and then, you know, did everything I could with the boys when I get home. Stories, Legos, video games. Let's do family movie night. And in my head, all I'm thinking is, I just did a 20-hour day. I
Yeah,
don't
just
want to
wanna lay
watch
down. Yeah.
Grinch. Like
You weren't there.
go to
You were
bed.
there, but you weren't there.
And guess what? I ponied up and we Grinched it up, and his heart grew 3 times that day, right? Like over and over and over again for years and years. And it's tough. You know, you look at these guys after 20 years of service, you look at these guys after 4, and they look like 30, 40-year-old men and women because it's taxing. But I will say, in response to that, it's worth it. Because I see guys like Matt who are out here doing this, you know, for the team, the big team, right? Like put in some effort to reach out to folks. You know, I see guys like, you know, Archie, who's out doing IT stuff and texts me on Christmas and hey, sir, how's it going? You don't have to call me sir, whatever, sir. You know, I see Dominic Polino from my platoon in TBS, who's a police officer in Rochester, New York, just absolutely crushing it and representing, you know, the Marine Corps in a positive way. And I think about those things and I'm like, you know what? It was worth it. I feel like a father watching his children grow up. And I imagine that there's leaders who, you know, put effort into me that probably are like, you know what, he made major. I didn't completely waste my time.
Absolutely. It works both ways.
And so it is hard, you know, to balance the two. And there is no balance. If I'm being honest, the family, you know, did come second a lot. And in an effort to make that up, I sacrificed a lot of my time when I was off and just poured it into them. And it never made up for the difference, to be clear. Like, I can never get that time back. One of my favorite leaders when I was at EWS, Major Pete Abelson, Pete's War Pigs, go CG4. He said something to me and it was just in conversation. So it wasn't really supposed to be heavy, but it was. And it was like, you can be honored grad or you can be honored dad in that 9 months that I'm at EWS, because it's a pretty relaxed environment for an officer. You don't have any Marines. It's just about your studies and your grade, right? And everyone's competing because it's a really big deal to go to that school. I was humbled to be selected to go there, and I had a great time. But I thought about that, and I was like, yeah, man, like, it's not wrong. Because there's going to be an end to this. Like, I can't be a Marine until my deathbed. You know, whether it's 20, 30, or 40, like, everybody's getting out at some point. And who have I forgotten and, you know, maybe neglected in that time when I was pouring it all into the Marines? So I definitely tried from that moment. I was like, you know what? He's not wrong.
Yeah.
And I probably, the response to that was not to do less in the Marine Corps, but it was rather to do less me time and give everything else to the family and burning that candle at both ends. But it's kind of, you know, in society, they talk about masculinity a lot, and sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. And I would say that, you know, for me, you know, deciding what a man was, you know what, my job is to take care of others. That's my identity. It's not just being a Marine. It's not being a husband and a father, but it's, you know, I am a man and these are my responsibilities. This is my identity, is to care for my wife, my sons, and my Marines, and ultimately honor the commitment to the nation. And, you know, that balance is tough. And that balance is the most difficult thing. The job's easy.
Yeah.
Read a book, get an email and answer it, you know, get said name Marine to medical so he can get his shots. You know, the day-to-day stuff is easy. And even the missions, you have to do a lot of analysis and decision making, but that's not hard.
Yeah.
It's the human part of it, the people, and the generational, that comes up in conversation a lot. And I've read a few articles about it. And I've actually got a link I'll try to send to you guys on an article from a major at the Army Award. I think it's their Command and Staff College. Just talks about leading millennials, which is a little misleading because, Eric Brown, the Marine Corps will always be my first wife. That's
Semper Fidelis.
Semper
it's
Fi.
kind of true sometimes, but I don't like the comments that a lot of us make, and I'm guilty of making it sometimes in moments of frustration, but this generation enter, whatever my complaint is, because I didn't get what I wanted.
Yeah.
What a cop out from the leadership, right? Because I'm older and you should do it my way. Well, the reality is that the experiences that those Marines who were born after I enlisted had was probably vastly different than how I was raised.
Sure.
Right.
They grew up in an information age where everything was available in an instant. And that is good and bad. And I think what it developed was a habit of asking questions because they were going to get answered.
Yeah.
How do I rebuild a motor? Just go to YouTube. Someone will show you how to do it.
Yeah, they will.
What's the capital of whatever? You click a button and Sergeant Major Google answers your questions instantaneously, right? And so that becomes habitual over the 18 years of your development. And then you join an institution where I want you to have instant willing obedience to orders. But the habit is, okay, cool, I'll go do that. But why are we doing it? What are we trying to achieve? And I had to mold myself instead of saying you should be like me and my generation is better. No. As a leader, I will instill some of the good qualities I think that my generation had, but I need to probably embrace some of the good ones that you're bringing as well. So
it's part of evolution.
Be a little humble,
right?
And probably educate yourself. And that's been difficult because a lot of these Marines, I need to approach them on a cerebral level, vice, everybody drop blouses and let's go for a run. And I'm just going to pound discipline into you. They don't respond to that the same way that I did. I was like, okay, cool, PT, let's go.
Right.
All right, we'll do it. And they will. They're just as physically fit and they're just as willing to go out and do these missions and shoot guns.
They're just more information driven.
But they want to know why.
Right.
And I think that is a product of, technological evolution. And instead of poo-pooing it and naysaying it, figure it out. This platform is part of that answer. I think that younger generations are going to connect better this way than going to the VFW and drinking beers with a bunch of vets.
Yeah.
And that maybe worked, 50 years ago, but no one's going there. The Marines are going to come, the soldiers, sailors, airmen are open to platforms and conversations like this. And so the word that we're getting out, that those conversations that we need to have, we need to embrace technology. There's written platforms within the Marine Corps that I love, but they keep themselves gated off. And what I mean by that is if you don't pay for this subscription, you can't be a part of this intellectual dialogue on the Marine Corps. And I'm not going to name who they are, but instead I'll just go to, War on the Rocks and see a similar, if not identical article. And it's free. Information is free. And I think that there's some antiquated leadership styles that I embraced and loved and have had to kind of, shed and evolve.
Yeah.
Keep with the times. I'm not saying that I'm savvy. And, I had some Marines call me a boomer today because they're like, sir, we'll Venmo you this for this. And I'm like, what's a Venmo?
I don't know what that. I have no idea what that is.
And they're like, okay, boomer. And I'm like, I'm not a boomer. What the heck? I'm actually, by date, I'm a millennial, but at the early stages of that. So still X guys, but we gotta shut off some preconceived notions of even leadership and not go to that easy answer, which is this generation is lazy and entitled. Well, no, they're not. I mean, I think they're just as capable. I believe that if the flag went up and they said go, they're going to go because they also enlisted in a time where there was no conflict compelling them to do so.
Right.
You got to think about that as a senior leader.
Of course.
Instead of saying, oh, this generation is XYZ, This
That's true.
generation was so willing to serve their nation that even though there was no conflict and no real promise of any great reward or accolades, they still gave up their freedom to join the institution.
And respectfully, most of those kids, and I don't mean that in a negative sense, but most of that generation grew up in a time of war that us three have experienced. So their willingness to be able to go down the block, sign the dotted line, and go through that process is hands down.
They have nothing but my love and respect. And I will say that, that was an evolution of my own leadership style. Like this is not the guy I was, 21 years ago. I'm honest. I don't think I like that guy, and that's okay. We talked earlier about old Patrick versus new Patrick, and I don't think there is an old Patrick. There's just a maturing, evolving Patrick who, through the course of like some good and bad life experiences has decided to be something else. And I realized, not early on, I wish I had, but after, some of my rougher patches that one, happiness is not a destination. It's not a job. It's not a thing. It's a choice.
Right.
And I actually posted that on a YouTube video today that I saw, that happiness is not a destination or an item or a relationship or a title.
Right.
It's a choice. And it's not easy. I got to wake up every day and say, you know what?
And decide.
I'm going to go to work. I'm putting on a smile. I'm going to be genuine and, embrace whatever challenge these Marines bring to my office. And I'm going to give them more time. The cost of leadership is my time. Because I want them to be able to, replace me. Like I want someone who loves the institution and has the drive to take my place. And then I'll go off to pasture and get old and grow a beard and it'll be great.
There you go.
So that's, I mean, I don't think there was a better way to kind of close that segment. I think the idea of every leader, and I truly honor what you said, is making it better. And then you got to pass the torch, right? We all can't be, and I know this is going to resonate with some of our listeners out there, especially in Romeo Battery. We all can't play that part of the game forever, right? There's going to be a time where it's done for us, but our mission just changes. We shift our focus. And I want to, as I say that, I want to offer kind of an open door policy with you here as you venture on your journey to the civilian division. You said earlier there's a lot of unknowns that you're going to be experiencing, and Matt and I and our network here are here for you through that whole process. Day and night, you let us know what your concerns are. Like I said in the beginning, also, we never served together, but this is the beauty about one, what we're creating, and two, what the Marine Corps has already done for 246 years, and has created a bond amongst men and women that can't be broken. So I honor and I respect all your stories this evening, and I truly thank you for your time.
Right.
I love being here. Thank you guys, and I'll definitely be in touch. You guys are awesome, and I love the outreach. I'm going to share your guys' information, and hopefully we can grow this community together. Thank you.
I want to say, sir, that before you go, number one, I want to tell you thank you for your completely unselfish service to this country. And thanks for being a great leader.
Yeah, I love you, Matt.
I love you, man. The sacrifices that you made to not give yourself attention and not give your family attention, they didn't go unseen, and they didn't go unappreciated. Your Marines were better because of it, and we love you. I'm excited for the next phase of your life.
Me too. As intimidating as I said it was, it's also really looking forward to it. A lot of fishing, but thank you again, guys. Love you. To the team out there, support Disarranged1775. This is an amazing program, and I think this is gonna be a great journey, and I'm happy to watch you guys. Take care, y'all.
Awesome, sir. Thank you very much, everybody. Disarranged1775. This is live with Major Patrick Callahan, sir. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you. Love you. Keep in touch.
My
Man, that's
God, pal. You crushed me at the end there, guy. I started, dude. I felt like I was watching a Lifetime movie with my mom. I started
I
tearing
know
up, and it's good shit, dude. That's
I
really
know
good shit.
I think the thing that maybe got lost in the story through what he was saying about sacrifices, he never gave attention to himself. That's the person that he left behind. And now we'll see that again. You know, we talk about this all the time, especially our mission in doing this. You know, he's coming out now, and all those years of being unattentive to himself are going to catch up. He's going to have to learn how to appreciate himself again and take it. You know, it's just the sacrifice that these leaders put in. And I just don't know. I don't know if people really understand what goes into it. It's sad. And a lot, his is a success story in the sense that, you know, he's still with his wife, and a lot of it tears families apart. And, you know, it's tough. It's, you don't really have a choice. When you're in the Marine Corps, that's your bride, or that's your husband.
Right.
And,
well, I think he gave a great, I think he represented true leadership.
Without a doubt, there's no question. Yeah.
I really don't know much to say after that, other than that, you know, we had a lot of good leaders like that too. And I'm
Yes,
happy for you as you went on to your journey and I got out, that you got to experience, you know, kick-ass leaders that, man. And that's cool shit.
I was very, very, you know, when I found out I was getting medically retired, like I told you, I was pissed. But when I looked back at what I got to experience, man, I was so blessed to be able to serve in Romeo Battery, you know, with Gunny Mercer and good leadership there, and all the NCOs, and a lot of them I hated, but they shaped me to be they shaped that platoon sergeant that went on to MWSS 271, you know,
right,
to train Marines. So, man, I had no regrets, and I'm very, very, not a lot of Marines can look back and say that they served under great leadership all the time, 100%. Unfortunately. But I got really, really lucky, and Master Sergeant Brown was definitely one of them. Hopefully we'll get to talk to him. And but yeah, I mean, it's just true leadership is the best way to put it, Turner. You're right.
You know, and it's, you knocked it out of the park with bringing him to the table, brother, and I appreciate you. And I don't. I guess we can open up to see if people have any questions about what's going on, and what we have got coming on next week. And I know this is a little bit backwards, but we're a little anxious in the beginning to jump in, but along with the beginning of our show, and when I was giving a shout out to our Baltimore family, I definitely want to give their advertisement spots some time. Let me just pull up our first sponsor. So our first sponsor is Sunny Made Cleaners LLC here in the Baltimore, DC area. They specialize in residential and commercial cleaning companies. You can contact Bella Wiley at 443-939-4578. And you can also reach him at info@sunnymadecleaners.com, or reach out to them at sunnymadecleaners.com, and you can get a quote. It's real easy. These girls are kick-ass. They'll come in, make you look like spick and span. So something that I would definitely do is reach out to them.
Yep.
And we've got one more also, as our good friends over at Neptune's Plumbing and Heating. Neptune's is owned and operated by Dan Godecki, a third-generation master plumber who specializes in wells, water treatments, drain cleaners, boilers, and residential light commercial markets. There's no job too big or small. They're really looking forward to serving their community. They're up and coming in the area. All their information will be in the description, along with Major Patrick Callahan's links and things and information about this episode. And you can reach Dan at 410-776-5867, or go over and shoot him over an email at neptunesplumbingofmaryland.com. And
I'll say this, man. When we created this platform, this is when I look to the right and I see the comments. So what we're doing here is we took, and not take away from, we love our civvies that are listening. We love everybody, but we've had 2 units that have got to know each other through this process, and we're creating, this bond and this group, our buddy check platform. We're getting to know people, and now you have a place, right, where you can come and you can talk about this stuff, and it's just awesome, man. It was a great night, and then it went exactly how I knew it would go. When we, like I said, when we first started this, the first name that came to my mind was his. And like,
dude, when you first brought him, I remember, and real quick, I'll share this. I remember when I called you and we had that conversation, and we're like, let's talk tonight after work. And dude, I was like, all right. As soon as you told me his rank, and you're like, oh, he'd come on and he'd support. I'm thinking, like, dude, we probably should have a little bit of a better platform before we're starting to get some brass up here. And I'm thrilled at where we picked him, when we put him. I think he completely launched, our communications in terms of what we're trying to do here at Disarranged. Yes. And I'm happy to meet him. I'm glad you brought him to the table, brother. I appreciate it.
Yep. And just one more shout out to all the 271 family, man. It's great to see you guys. Romeo family, our civilian family, but 271 family came and represented tonight. I love all of you, and I hope you're all doing well. And I hope to see you back and support. And it's just a great night. So,
well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our episode tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in to Disarranged1775. I'm your host, Andrew Turner. I'm alongside my co-host, Matthew Garner. We truly appreciate the time you spent with us. We appreciate all the love, the support. Please make sure you run over to YouTube, all the social media platforms, and subscribe, follow, like, hit the ding button so you know when we're coming on live. But again, truly, the only thing we can't get back in this life is time. And the fact that you've all sat here with us tonight and listen to us and listen to our guests, we're truly blessed. And thank you very much. So until next time, we'll see everybody next week.